All right, welcome to Flint Talk Radio. I'm Perry Belcher, and you've seen me before when I've been talking on Flint Talk Radio as far as different topics and different show ideas. One of them was the Genesee County Compassion Club show. And I'm a fun-loving guy, and I like good times, but sometimes we got to focus on what's going on in our world, in the big picture, and that's why I'm here talking with George Brikho. George Brikho is running for the 9th District Congressional seat here in Michigan. George, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. My name is George Brikho. Thank you, Perry, for having me. I really appreciate it. And I love all the work that you do, community activism. You really stepped up and fought for the people and their civil liberties. So thank you for all that you do.
Well, yeah, I just want to live a good life. That's all. Yeah. So, George, let's get right to it. There's a lot of topics that we have to cover. You know, we've got a lot of people running for office this year. We've already seen upsets. But before we get to some of that, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for this seat.
I'm a small business owner here in Michigan. I own 3 businesses. I'm a husband, a father of 4 beautiful children. I just recently had my 4th child, Memorial Day, the 26th of last month. I am running because I'm not too happy with the way our country, the direction that it's going in.
And I think a lot of people are feeling that way right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. We see our economy is devastated. We see the average American barely making ends meet, working for positions that they are too overqualified for because they have no other options. I see the citizens of Michigan as well as the position that I'm running for. I am speaking for the country, the overall country as well. But I see a lot of the people in Michigan that are devastated by what has happened to our economy and all the quality jobs that we have lost.
What happened? I mean, I know it's a big question, but we look back on it, you know, the last several decades, and, you know, I many times I attribute it to NAFTA and them shipping the jobs overseas and making it seem like it was a good thing, and it might have been good for the few, but not good for the many. What do you attribute it to? What started the downfall economically?
In my opinion, I believe that both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, have the representatives have worked in favor of big corporations and not the people. You mentioned NAFTA. In my opinion, I don't believe NAFTA was a good idea for the citizens of Michigan as well as our nation. There are many, many things. At the end of the day, it all goes back to our representatives working for the benefit of big corporations and not the people. And this goes many directions.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And this has happened throughout history. This is nothing new. I mean, for some of those who haven't, you know, had the time to study history, they think that, well, this is the first time that this has happened. This is an old playbook where big businesses get out of hand and they don't look out for the good and the welfare of their people and their communities and things like that. As you can see, you were driving in today and you've seen what's happened to Flint, Michigan. I know that's not your district, but, you know, it's a sign of what can happen when politicians aren't looking out for the people. It's devastating.
You brought up driving through here through Flint, and we all know GM was here, and we saw how, due to the financial collapse as well as a lot of our jobs going overseas, whatever it may have cost or pushed big corporations through tax benefits, these big corporations are being rewarded for leaving our country, taking away jobs from the citizens of America. We see, again, it goes back to big corporations being pampered or carried through by our representatives with total disregard to the people.
Well, it used to be, you know, profit was encouraged, but it wasn't the only thing. It used to be where corporations would pay a fair percentage of taxes, and then each individual citizen would pay their fair percentage. And those numbers have waffled and changed over the years so much to where corporations pay a very small amount of taxes, and then the people who actually build those corporations, because they're buying their products, they're using their services, and they're just simply not looking looking out for them, because at the end of the day, as you mentioned kind of earlier when you talk about the end of the day and certain things, if profit margins and only making the most money is the goal, number one, how can you keep up quality? Number two, how can you make sure that your employees and the people around your community are being treated fairly? So this has really gotten out of hand. So maybe those tax laws need to be restructured. Is that part of it?
I totally agree with you. I'm a small business owner. I see how hard it is for me to make it. I have the struggles as the average American. Yes, I am running. Most politicians that run are financially stable, but I'm running because I have a great family support and friends and a tight-knit community that has been helping me run for my seat with less money. I see a lot of people that they're being affected by, again, these politicians using big corporations as an avenue to make money. We got to get the money out of politics, and then we can see your average American benefiting. They are being rewarded for going overseas. I'm a free market guy. I'm all about making profit. But if we are hurting the people, why is it, how positive of a country are we if the 1% are the only ones living a good life, when the average American who works to make a living physically is being affected by same policy, same old business as usual? So
it sounds like, and by looking at your website, and what's your website, by the way? Just go ahead and tell everybody out there what your website, your political website is.
My website address is www.georgebrikho.com. My last name is spelled Brikho.com. If you guys go to my website, help me out. We need volunteers. If you guys have great candidates that are running, support them, even if they're not in your district. If you have nobody in your district that you're proud of or happy of, look around you and see if you could find politicians, or I'm going to say freedom fighters. I hate the word politicians, but we need support the candidates, even if they're in your neighboring cities that you believe in.
So would you support reducing property taxes or income tax, or increasing the taxes on corporations? Where are you at in all this?
I'm not a big tax fan. We need to stop taxing the poor. There's no benefit in taxing the poor. They barely make ends meet. Now, we should have some guidelines, some dollar amount where if you're making this much money and less, you don't get taxed. Property tax, I'm the biggest opponent to property tax. How in this country will we never be out of debt? How can you own a home outright and have to pay property tax? One of the big issues that I have in my big reasons that I chose to run is property tax as well. I'm going to draft a bill. One of the first bills I'm going to do, and people are going to think I'm nuts for doing this, is eliminate the property tax. There's no reason why, as an American citizen, that you have to work till the day you're dead. With the way things are, you can barely make ends meet, barely save any money, and 99% of the middle class, which doesn't exist, and lower class, will never have enough money saved up because they're barely saving enough money today for them to pay off or pay sales tax for pay property tax for the last 10 years of their lives. Most Americans, because they cannot save any money, will have to work till the last breath to pay property tax, and I think that's wrong. And property tax wasn't implemented until the late 50s, from what I understand.
Well, I don't think that people would look at you as off the wall. I think people are waiting for bills like that to go through. I think a lot of people are taught through the media and the rest of it that they literally almost have to be taxed to death to keep the country afloat, and that's just not true.
It's, we all know as well, the federal income tax was only implemented for World War II to pay the war and not fall into debt. They said they would get rid of it soon after. It never happened. So I believe we are being taxed out of the nose. Your average person gets 25, 27% taken out of their paycheck, let alone their tax on their clothes, their tax on their gas, their tax on their toothpaste.
It's true.
Give me a break. Tax, 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 tax. A tax seems like it's a normal word. It's that it should be. If we've been taxed out the nose and we're still in debt, politicians are still doing illegal and immoral and unethical.
Hey,
practices.
maybe we need some taxes, but I just got my license plate renewal tax. If I want to go fishing, the tax. I mean, I guess when you pay this much in taxes that we pay, you would expect a dynamic, well laid out bridges, top notch public transportation, top notch services, and we're just not getting that.
We all know that big government doesn't mean it's going to be a positive thing. It all goes back to management.
Yes.
The people working in those positions we just spoke about, they are the ones benefiting from this.
I'll tell you what, you're going to get me worked up on this tax issue. I'm going to switch over a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the other things that gets you worked up. So let's start with probably one of the most controversial topics here. And you talk about it as far as the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. It's been a controversial issue. Why is it so controversial?
There's many reasons I believe that we have a government that's after our guns, and I believe that they are after our guns because that's the only way they can rule over the masses.
Because you can't ever question anybody if there's no way to present any sort of I guess to stand up for yourself.
Absolutely. The Second Amendment is very clear, and reciting it, there's a part that says to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. Not saying that
it's to keep a balance, though.
It's a balance. We see in many other countries. Germany did it, where Hitler.
George, I went through today, and I was shocked, and I had heard some of this before, of other areas. And we're not talking 5,000 years ago. We're not talking 1,000 years ago. We're talking, in this past century. We go back to Stalin and the Soviet Union. 20 million people dead after they took away the guns. Mao in China from 48 to 52, 20 million. Uganda, 71 to 79, 300,000 people. Pol Pot in Cambodia, 1 million people. Hitler, and they all had the same thing. They said, listen, we basically won't have any opposition. Nobody can question us if we take away their guns. Now, that's not to say that would happen here. What that is to say is, why let the opportunity happen?
You're absolutely right. Again, Second Amendment, I'm entitled to defend my family, my property, myself. It's my God-given right. And all these countries you just named off, I'm not saying it's going to happen here,
right.
But every human being should have the right to defend himself and his.
Everybody needs checks and balances. If somebody gave me everything I wanted, I might not be as nice a guy. Same thing with anybody else. We all need our little checks and balances, and it's the same for government. And, I was looking on the list here because, I worked in television for quite a few years. And they've played up the gun thing like it's the worst thing happening in the world. Now, granted, nobody wants to get shot. I don't want to go out and get shot today. I don't want anybody who's reckless having a gun and being stupid with it. But, I'm looking at the number one cause of death, and we're talking 780,000 people to bad diet, basically heart disease. But we don't attack the sugar companies. We go down to number 7, 69,000 with diabetes. We go to number 10. Drugs, mostly prescription drugs, at 40,000 people. And by the way, that's not medical marijuana, which we'll talk about in a little bit, which has 0 deaths, which you support. And then we get down to number 14, and we have guns, and that also includes accidental. We're at about 31,000. Now, once again, I don't want to see any gun deaths, okay? But I also am smart enough, I guess a little bit anyway, to look at history and go, there needs to be that balance. And I think that's why you support the Second Amendment. You just want to make sure that people can negotiate, they can protect themselves, and make sure that nobody bullies them. I've got no problems with guns going away, and maybe you don't either. But if they're going to go away, it better be some primo good human rights conditions for that to happen, right?
You mean for guns to be taken away?
Not taken away, but if they were ever to go away, it's got to be a pretty amazing situation. You got to trust everybody involved, right?
Every human being and every single person would have to be perfect and not have one evil bone in their body. And I doubt that anyone can guarantee that.
And I guess looking back at it, whether it was the bow and arrow, whether it was the slingshot, they've always had to defend.
More deaths have happened through knives in our country yearly than guns. No one's going after knives. That's what's going on. And guns have violent crimes have dropped 40% since Obama.
Violent crime is down.
With a weapon, with a gun is down.
Yes.
We hear multiple stories how many homeowners, as soon as the chief of police in Detroit came out and said, defend yourself, you know, we have seen multiple people who have been able to defend themselves as soon as the chief came forward. And a lot of people are backing away from attacking people in the city of Detroit because they're the chief is now more pro Second Amendment.
You know, surveys show that most people think violent crime is up, and it's not, as you've mentioned. And people can go online, they can research that. They can go to, I think you can go to the United Nations website, but there are tons of other websites, the FBI website. And I think that a lot of the reason why people think that violent crime is up, because number one, they watch so many crime shows on television and programs that way to think that there's stuff always going on. But number two, that the media is always showing people and glamorizing and giving people these front page and primetime stories when somebody commits a crime. And people need to be reminded, and they need to realize that this is simply not the case, that violent crime is down, and a lot of people are handling their weapons with very well, and they're acting responsibly. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. If you control the people, if you control their money, you control them. If they have no weapons, you can rule over them. It's unfortunate that our politicians and our government is trying to trample on the Constitution and take away their Second Amendment right.
Arguably the best document in human history that we can find. Arguably, let's go on. You know, I had mentioned the list of what's bad and what causes people to pass away. Unfortunately, whether it's diabetes or you know, guns on the lower end. But I had touched on the medical marijuana. You support medical marijuana. Why do you support it?
I do support medical marijuana. I am a proud owner of 2 hydroponic gardening stores in the state of Michigan, one in Lapeer and one in Madison Heights. Mm-hmm. The name is Eden's, E-D-E-N-Z, Eden's Hydro Gardening Store. I've been in business for approximately about 5 years now. Prior to that, I worked for an attorney by the name of Vincent Lorelli out of West Bloomfield. I'm going to give you the lowdown real quick and give you how my life has been affected by the medical.
Well, I think people want to know your background.
Okay. My mom and dad had a business in the city of Chesterfield for approximately 20 years. In 2008-9, during the financial collapse, the banks, after the bailout to our federal government, was infused money, but they still pushed us out of business. It was strange how they got their bailout. They received money from us taxpayers through our government, through the Federal Reserve, and they still pushed us out of business.
And they didn't increase jobs during that time either.
They did not increase jobs.
So they just took money.
They just took money, didn't increase jobs, and they still pushed people out of their homes and businesses.
So I know we're breaking off on another topic real quick, but you're against corporate bailouts, right?
I'm against corporate bailouts. Nobody bailed my family out. The corporations that were helping us or financing our businesses had no problem pushing us out of business. So they were bailed out, but we were not bailed out. So I do not approve of any corporate bailout. And
your opponent in the 9th District, Sander Levin, the Democrat there, he voted for corporate bailouts, didn't he?
He voted for corporate bailouts. He voted to infuse the banking institutions with money. And he disregarded helping the people of Michigan save their homes. Only people that benefited from all these bailouts were their buddies that were holding these positions and these high positions in the banking institutions.
Okay.
So that being said, so the bank squeezed us, pushed us out of the business in 2009, and I worked for my friend, attorney Vincent Lorelli. Mind you, I lost everything. So I could relate to the average American, unlike my opponent who's been there 32 years and doesn't even live here in Michigan, lives in Pennsylvania with his wife. So I'm a Michigander who feels the effect of what's going on through the financial collapse, and now going into working for my friend Vincent Lorelli. I worked there for a year, saved every single penny that I could, and I opened up my first hydroponic gardening store because I saw the medical marijuana law change. I was watching it, as I was working for him, I was watching all these gardening stores opening up, and I was a retail guy. The business that we owned, the one in Chesterfield Township, was the business that was a retail business. So I knew retail. I said, you know, if I could sell this, I could sell that. So I opened up my first store. The economy took off in this industry, where everybody was helpless and hurt through the financial collapse. All the plumbers, electricians, carpenters, heating, cooling guys, all these guys that were affected with no jobs, no homes, they as well, from what I observed, changed directions, tapped into this industry. Because guess what? You need water. Guess what? You need electricity to power your lights. You need a carpenter to build you your walls. So transitioning into the medical marijuana industry, I've seen firsthand, I've seen the effects that it has done as far as the economy of construction work. I saw the effects where these carpenters, electricians, heating, cooling guys, plumbers, where all these guys were struggling because we all know the financial collapse happened. Home building was down. So I firsthand saw the physical aspect of job creation. Now, what I also have witnessed through this industry is these patients that are coming into my business. The doctors are giving them 60, 30 days to live, and through hemp oil, I observed them living longer. They were able to eat. I see it firsthand.
They felt comfort.
They felt comfort, and many of them have fought it where it's not, they don't have to.
I knew people who were going to lose their homes, and they opened up businesses, or some became caregivers or whatever, and now they actually see a bright future. I'm trying to think of any other industry in the state of Michigan where there's 100 new stores or 150 new stores that have been created, and all the jobs associated with that, and the interest and the vibrance and the energy of just seeing job creation. And I don't know if, and you mentioned the medical part of it too, and there's no doubt a lot of people are feeling great benefit from medical marijuana, and I support it as well. I stand behind it, and for those, there's something about a medication that has 0 deaths on record going back to Egypt. It was in the pharmacopoeia in Egypt. It used to be in the pharmacopoeia here in the U.S. Hemp for victory in World War II. It was a medicine here in the States until other industries didn't want it to be, basically out there as a non-toxic medicine, being able to create plastics and things that are non-toxic like hemp can. Concrete.
Yeah, and going back, you mentioned something in 2009. Like you said, you saw people save their homes.
Yes.
I had no home after the financial collapse. They pushed us out of business, a business that we had for 20 years. I had nothing. This industry opened up an avenue. It took me immediately $50,000 to open up my first store. Here I am sitting before you, 3 businesses. I own a fertilizer company, 2 businesses, gardening stores. Because of this industry, I employ 5 or 6 families. I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives. I'm the Republican nominee, all because of this industry. This industry has strengthened my back in order for me to step up and fight these big corporations that have pushed people like myself out of business, and average Americans around me, pushed them out of their homes. I am here to fight for them. Because of this industry opened up doors for me.
So wait, you're saying no more corporate bailouts, reduced taxes, medical marijuana is okay, and it could be a good thing, and you support the Second Amendment. What about the NSA? How is that impacting how people live every day?
Again, they're trampling all over our constitutional rights. The Constitution was created to protect us from them. The NSA, obviously, I'm a big no-no for me. Nobody would like it if I went through their messages or their emails or their phones. Perry, can I go through your phone? Can I go through your wallet?
Absolutely not.
Can I come into your home and go through your kitchen cabinets? Why is it okay? Because they're not physically doing it. Why is it okay for them to go through your stuff, but I cannot?
It just doesn't seem like there's a moral high ground for somebody to say, I need to know everything about you. That just seems odd.
To control the people, this is their way of controlling. This country was created so we could have religious and political freedoms, and I believe that these tools, these things that they're doing, we saw...
And it intimidates people, too.
We've witnessed, that's their goal, is to make us afraid of them. But in reality, they should be afraid of us.
It just seems like the logical thing would be to work with the people to gain their respect. They hold their. I'll be honest with you. I don't care who's president. I don't care who's in Congress, as long as they're doing good for me, my friends, the people, the families.
Protecting your rights.
Yeah, just doing a good job. What happened to being proud of your work? Just like anybody who works around this state who's proud of their work, I don't understand why they wouldn't be held to the same level.
Entitlements. They want that cushy lifestyle. We overthrow, topple dictators throughout the world that we complain about being in power 25, 30 plus years. Well, guess what? Sander Levin's been there 32 years.
Well, how do you think Sander Levin would feel comfortable? And I know that this isn't his district, but he makes decisions that involve the whole state. Any congressman does. Do you think he would feel comfortable coming and living in Flint for a month here in downtown Flint?
Sander Levin's so out of touch. I don't think he would even have the heart or the guts to walk through these streets.
Could he look people in the eye, do you think?
Sander Levin has been here 32 years, and believe me, the way he votes have affected even the people out here in Flint. When I drove through here, I said to myself, wow, Detroit's 20 miles south of me, where I live, and Flint is, from what I saw,
it's hurting. It's hurting. And these are good people.
GM was here. Why did GM leave? Why did GM leave? Obviously, decisions that our politicians have made have affected the middle class.
Yes.
Unbelievable what I witnessed driving through Flint.
Yes.
My heart goes out to the people in Flint.
All right, so obviously NSA is not working pretty much for anybody. What about we talked in the NDAA? There have been different talk. It's been presented under different names, but basically, how do you feel about internet censorship? Do you think people should be able to speak freely? Should be able to say what they want on the internet, or do you like the idea of the NDAA where there could be limits on that? Where do you stand on that?
NDAA, I'm against NDAA. One of the major things on my plate is to go after that as well. Any indefinite detention of any human being is against your right to due process. Again, the Constitution was crafted to protect us, so any laws that are passed that violate the Constitution are unconstitutional, and whoever votes for them is an oath violator. What else did you mention other than NDAA?
Basically, the NDAA, the NSA, because the NDAA has been presented in different names now. Because
the NDAA,
well, no, wait, you just mentioned the Patriot Act. I was talking about the NDAA, but I'll tell you what, the Patriot Act, where do you stand on that? And that's a big issue, and I know a lot of people concerned about it.
The Patriot Act, I'm totally against that as well. We need to repeal. There's over 73,000 federal regulations and laws, bills passed that are things that we cannot do. But there's one-page Constitution that is geared so that our politicians do not go against. All these are all against the Constitution. There's too many regulations that affect the people, for people to prosper, for the people to move ahead and become better citizens.
So what you're saying is that the land of the free should not be a slogan on a T-shirt, just a slogan on a T-shirt, just a slogan on a license plate. That it really needs to stand for something. Is that right?
Absolutely.
All right, we just got a couple of minutes left. I know that you stand for a lot of different things. There are a lot of interesting topics on your website. We'll have you mention that before we go. But a couple more things. The environment's huge right now. And people a lot of times act like it's a second-tier issue. But the only way we can live, the only way we can survive is to have a beautiful planet. I remember growing up, people would mock the term tree huggers. Well, damn it, I'll tell you what. We need people that care about the environment, that care about our water so we have clean drinking water. Where do you stand on this? Will you vote to protect the environment?
Protect the environment. Get the fluoride out of the water.
What's it there for, George? I don't understand forced medication on people.
In my opinion, fluoride to put it in the water source of the prisoners during the war, and it's to make the masters dumb and docile. GMO foods, if you're not eating organic, the Monsanto Protection Act was drafted by the Republicans, passed by the Democrats, signed by the Democrat. I apologize. And GMOs are toxic. We're eating food that's banned in 50 countries across the world. We've got to clean up the food source, clean up the water source, put a clamp down on these big insurance companies,
I'll tell you what, if the powers that be, going back on the other topic of fluoride, and I've seen on television where they try to sway people and they'll put it in TV shows and make it seem like it's an irrelevant issue and people are stupid if they talk about it. But I'll tell you what, if they really cared, the powers that be, if they really cared about people's dental health, they would send them to the dentist. This is not really a complicated issue. You want to help my dental health, send me to the dentist. Don't put forced medication in my water. You want to know what? Water was good since the beginning of time, whenever that was. Water's been great. Everybody's been loving it. It's been healthy. Why mess with a good thing? It just seems absolutely and utterly ridiculous. So what I'm gaining from you is you're going to vote against corporate bailouts. You're going to vote Second Amendment so people can keep a little bit of a balance here in the country, in the state. You're also pro-medical marijuana, so people have a choice of medication and non-toxic medications. You're going to vote against GMOs, which are untested. They're forced on the market on people. We don't even know what these things to do.
Profit over wellness.
Yes.
I said earlier.
Yes. And the environment, you're voting for that. We've seen the Right to Farm Act come under attack. Basically, you're going to vote for the people here. You're actually looking out for the people. And what you were telling me earlier, you don't care what color, what religion, what race, where they're from.
Free means free.
Yeah.
Free means free. We need to take care of the people. The people are the backbone of this country. Rome, almost on the whole world, it collapsed because from within. We need to take care of the people.
We really got to work together a little bit more here. And George, I think you're going to do that, and I think that you're going to help make that happen.
Thank you for having me.
All right, George, we're getting ready to go here. Will you go ahead and tell people once again where they can go to find out more information about you and your campaign as you run in the 9th District for the congressional seat versus Sander Levin?
Please go to my website, georgebrikho.com, GeorgeBrikho.com. My campaign office telephone number is 248-636-0600. If you can please donate $1. $1 is better than nothing. We need all the help that we can get. I am not getting any corporate help. I am not getting help from my party. I'm not getting help from any big PACs. I'm just counting on the people. I am here fighting for you guys, and I'm here to fight for your children. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Perry, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, we'd like to thank everybody who tuned in today, everybody who watched. You know, I don't necessarily, or I'm not necessarily a Republican. I'm not necessarily a Democrat or a liberal or a Green Party. Yeah, but I stand behind people who want to have a better nation, a better state, and better communities for us all to live in. Thanks for watching, and thank you, George Brikho.